This week in the parish of bourses and market structure, NSE IPO looming as MCX and NSE gain electricity futures licenses, ASX Pyrrhic victory followed by unprecedented review, and we salute OM Group 40 years on. My name is Patrick L. Young. Welcome to the Bourse Business Weekly Digest. It's the Exchange Invest Weekly Podcast, episode 300. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very brief production of highlights amongst the key headlines from the week in market structure. All the analysis of the many events and happenings from the past 7 days can be found in Exchange Invest's daily subscriber newsletter, the unique guide to the Bourse business, sent daily to your inbox. More details at exchangeinvest.com. Over in Parish Notes, we were celebrating this week. We were delighted to salute the remarkable innovative team who surrounded OM's founder Olaf Stenhammer and created the world's first modern digital options market, which launched electronically on June the 12th, 1985. The full tribute was in our Parish Notes section, appropriately in our Thursday, June the 12th edition. Over in BitCarnage, proclaiming crypto clarity in CFTC regulation, incoming chairman, subject to congressional approval, Brian Quintenz, raised a rather ominous term for blockchain, describing it as a society-shaping technology. Decentralized shades of Orwell, anybody? Meanwhile, of course, CFTC would love to regulate crypto, but if it does so, it will need more money, goes the message from the incoming awaiting confirmation chairman. And it means, I hasten to add, US dollars, as clearly Bitcoin just won't do. If you enjoy this excerpt, you may be interested to know that you can read BitCarnage every day in Exchange Invest. Alternatively, if you want to follow BitCarnage's daily update on the happenings in the world of crypto and digital assets, you can find BitCarnage as a standalone on Substack. This week in exchanges, ASX lurched from a Pyrrhic victory to disaster. The win was gaining 10 million Australian dollars in the sale of a stake in digital asset, albeit the ASX spent the better part of $250 million and didn't have a working system in return for the replacement of chess. Then ASIC bit back with an unprecedented inquiry into things it reckons the ASX is not doing right, which is just about everything. 2 years into the Restore Trust 5-year plan, things are evidently going from bad to worse in Sydney's monopoly bourse monolith. The inquiry brief contains singularly the most brutal language applied to an exchange investigation I can ever recall, with the investigation focusing on governance capability and risk management frameworks and practices across the group. That infers even ASIC are feeling the vibe amongst a lot of others that management competence and ASX are somewhat mutually exclusive in the current era. Chairman of the ASIC, Longo, is not mincing his words either, and I quote, ASIC's decision to initiate an inquiry follows repeated and serious failures at ASX. The inquiry provides an opportunity for ASX to bolster market trust. Where Australian media was eager to note widespread criticism across Oz markets since 2020, I would add that actually Exchange Invest was worried about the drift in ASX's coherence more than a decade ago. Once again, PLY's pithy prescience proves well worth the money. Even 250 million Australian dollars. In conclusion, I feel it's safe to say year 2 of the 5-year plan to restore trust may not be going as well as ASX themselves were perceiving only last week. Don't forget, all the pithy analysis was in Exchange Invest and has been following the ASX ominously accurately since we started over 12 years ago. Meanwhile, at the LSEG, there was a shareholder revolt over the CEO's bumper pay packet while he allowed the London Stock Exchange itself to slump. And like so many key stories, all the pithy comment was in Exchange Invest. Finally, one good word from a politician. South Korean President Lee visited the Korean Stock Exchange that he pledged to help boost. His politics may not be so free market by definition, but meeting at KRX so swiftly after his election was an encouraging sign for the Korean market. In the week, the exchange-traded derivatives division took control of their overnight trading. For the record, President Lee Jae-myung was elected June the 7th, sworn into office June the 4th, and made a visit to KRX in T+7, which speaks volumes about his intentions. Over in deals this week, anticipation is building for what promises to be the exchange IPO of the year, as it seems NSE India could come to market remarkably soon, with headlines even clamouring for a DRHP listing permission to come imminently from SEBI. Exchange Invest is proud to have launched a special edition inspired by my visit to ring the closing bell at the New York Stock Exchange, July the 5th, 2024. Pyrrhic Young's original bestseller, Capital Market Revolution, the first breakthrough book in fintech a decade before that word held common currency, has over 10,000 new words of additional pith, placing the past quarter century in perspective alongside the original text, which has proven remarkably successful through the years. Capital Market Revolution 25th Anniversary Edition is published by Exchange Invest and is now available as an ebook via Amazon Kindle at a ludicrously reasonable price of $9.99, a quarter of the price of the original shorter print book a quarter century ago. Meanwhile, if you fancy some financial insights with moving pictures, check out our live stream Tuesdays 5 o'clock London, midday New York time. It's the IPO video live show. Catch the back episodes on LinkedIn and YouTube via IPO-VID. Now online, we have IPO-VID 179 introducing the Ethiopian Stock Exchange with our special guest Michael Habte, the COO. And coming up next week, IPO-VID 180, what a perfect GAN number that is, going to be a new format. We're going to be practicing, how can we put it, our version of All In, but for market structure. Join us with a fabulous panel of 3 guests plus myself as we discuss matters of moment in markets and market structure. In product news, following on from the news about MCX last week, NSE has now got the SEBI nod to launch monthly electricity futures. Last week's elation to MCX was slightly diluted, with SEBI adopting a pro-competition approach, meaning current monopolist IEX, which is not regulated by SEBI, plus newcomers MCX and NSE, both of which are, will all have chances to further develop electricity markets. Over in technology news, fascinating to see that Ion founder Andrea Pignataro is going to pay €280 million to settle a tax probe, which was a rapid resolution reported by Bloomberg to a story we first mentioned on April the 14th, 2025 in EI 3247. In career paths, well, what a busy week it was. Nasdaq shareholders re-elected their board of directors for a year, and amid a flurry of appointments at the SEC, they named former Data BP advisor Jamie Selway as Director of Trading and Markets, as well as Kurt Hull as Chief Accountant. Thanks for listening to Exchange Invest Weekly. We welcome your feedback. You can contact me directly, patrick@derivativesvision.com, with any comments. Meanwhile, if you enjoyed this show, we would welcome you giving us a thumbs up. Or, if you have time, a positive review will always be welcome, wherever you find this podcast. In a big move for the legal end of the parish, Sullivan & Cromwell has added regulatory heavyweight Barney Reynolds in their London office as a partner from A&O Sherman. Barney's erstwhile firm merged with Ireland and Overy to create A&O Sherman last year, and there's been a considerable amount of staff movement ever since. Having led the team which developed the world-class ADGM Financial Centre framework and has been involved with many major market infrastructures, including ICE, this is the biggest legal move around the parish I can think of in years. EuroCTP, who are bidding for the consolidated tape, they've announced the appointment of Frank Hoba of the Frankfurt Stock Exchange as chairman of the supervisory board for their consolidated tape bid. And finally, a sad note, as the founding chairman of the CFTC, William T. Bagley, died at home in California. He served on the commission from 1975 to 1980 and was chairman from 1975 to 1978. Now, let's posit a pretty wild thought in Big World, but I suspect it could have a lot more legs than it had even a week or two ago. Essentially, we all priced in a midterm loss for President Trump in the midterms because, well, that's how it usually goes, and hey, midterms tend to see higher Democrat vote levels. But despite the fact he's governing frantically, right now there are many possible pitfalls for the GOP, and the crypto thing worries me as the blind are distributing the blind, I feel. But at the same time, the Dem leaders reckon torching cars and rioting to save the illegal residency of foreign criminals is the way to go. Plus, the festering mess the Biden admin continues to leave its own legacy stink cloud over the party and its media acolytes. Trump is governing with haste as if the midterms are lost. Trigger warning. But if he keeps achieving, keeping new immigrants out, removing at least the worst criminal elements of the current legal groupings, and maintains his overall momentum, I think the equilibrium might be such that Trump can win the midterms. And on that mysterious and magnificent note, thank you for listening to this EI Weekly Podcast 300. Join us daily via exchangeinvest.com, or if you have a new exchange you would like built, get in touch. My name is Pyrrhic Young, and I wish you a great week in life and markets. This show relates to the business of bourses. It is not to be construed as investment advice, nor are we making any investment recommendations. Please consult an investment advisor before you make any investments, and for goodness sake, do your due diligence and do not make investments without complying with the regulations in your home state. Exchange Invest cannot be held responsible for any investment decisions made as a result of our program, which is for entertainment purposes only. The material herein is copyright Patrick L. Young at the date of publication, while our music and sound effects are sourced from copyright-free sources. Thanks for listening to Exchange Invest Weekly, the exchange of information.